So let me ask you this. Are you ready to bring in a brand new life for 2013?
Amen.
It's
Yeah.
going to be awesome. When I think about all the things that are happening in the world and what God has for us, there are certain things that are going on right now that is in our favor. Do you realize that all of life is based on predictable results? Now, here's the interesting thing about this. So many people say, Pastor Ron, that I don't know what tomorrow holds. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know what's going to happen. But all of that is based on ignorance. Because all of life, good, bad, or indifferent, Brother Wayne, is based on what's called predictable results. We need to learn to have the wisdom to look at things in our life, and when we look at them, to have the understanding and the evaluation what it's going to be producing. When we go to nature and we plant corn, nobody believes that an orange is going to pop up, right? Because of predictable results. Okay. Well, our life can be surrounded and based on those kind of things called predictable results. So, in a good economy, or even in a bad economy, average does not work. Okay, average does not work. But in an economy like we're in right now, the key word, you should write this down, is exceptional. The only way that we are going to experience prosperity and success in 2013 is when we have our branding as exceptional. You have to have exceptional thinking. You have to have an exceptional attitude. Exceptional in everything that we do. In fact, it should be our branding. It should be our trademark. When somebody looks at you, they say, if there's anything that I can say about that individual, is they're exceptional. Their attitude, the way they conduct themselves, the way that they believe, the way they behave themselves, everything that they do, their branding is exceptional. That's what it's going to take in 2013. Now, there's a gentleman by the name of Paul J. Myers. He was an excellent believer, great Christian man. May have never. He just recently passed away this year. He was a multi millionaire. Okay, and then he asked him, "How in the world did you amass such wealth?" And he always said, "I always go back and base my life and my businesses, which he had over 40 of them, on the Bible." Now, the Bible is the greatest success book on the planet. That's the great thing about it. When you talk about the Bible, you are holding in your hands the greatest success book in life. Now, there are three things that we're going to need. We're going to need motivation, we're going to need inspiration, and then we're going to need education. Okay? So you need motivation to start the game. Then you're going to need inspiration to stay in the game, but you're going to need education to finish the game. In 2013, the Holy Spirit is going to have to motivate you, inspire you, and then educate you. So when we have these three components going into 2013, then we begin to live a limitless life. We can go into 2013 and say, I can predict what's going to happen. Amen. Good, bad, or indifferent. When you learn these things and understand them, all of a sudden now, the world opens up and it's no longer a mystery. It's like you never know what God's going to do. Sure you do. If you learn his book and understand these things, you can live what's called a predictable life. Amen. Okay. Now here's the great thing about it. You have control over what's going to come into your life in 2013. As we begin to look at some of these things, what will happen now is you can have all the promises in our reality. You know, if I was going to teach on anything tonight and put a title on it, Pastor Ron, I would say this: practical living for spiritual success. Now, we've had this backwards. We believe that if we had spiritual success, it would equate to practical living. We know that's not true. Okay? Here's the interesting thing about God. He loves all of us. He provided everything that we need to live this abundant, extraordinary life in every aspect. But it's up to us to take a hold of that and begin to put it into manifestation. See, God is not moved by need. He is not moved by want. He is moved by faith. He allows us the opportunity to prove ourselves. That's what life is about. Life is about giving us the opportunity to prove ourselves. And God says, I'm going to lay everything out for you, and I'm going to give you all the things that you need to live this fabulous life, but it's up to you if you want to live it. When it comes down to understanding these things, all of a sudden, life becomes good. So I want to share with you a few things tonight about learning how to do this practical living. Now, what is an optimist? Oh, you know what I need, love? In my suitcase, there is those copies that you made. Can you get that for me? Uh, when we look at the word optimistic, okay, or we ask what an optimist is. Here's what an optimist is. It's the guy that predicts the end of the world. And he comes down on the day when the world was supposed to end, and it doesn't happen. And he raises up his head and says, prayer works. Prayer. I prayed that the world didn't end, and it didn't end. Now that's an optimist, right? Somebody, right, that believes that no matter what happens, it's in their favor. That's what an optimist is. There was a gentleman by the name of Larson, which was a turn of the century Christian, and he wrote something called I Promise Myself. And I want us to read this together. Can you take one? Maybe you guys can share it and then pass it around. I'll read this to you, and you just follow along. And it's called I Promise Myself. It's by Christian D. Larson. And he wrote this in the 1800s. Okay, and I'm going to read it for you, and you can just kind of follow along. He said, I promise myself to be so strong that nothing can disturb my peace of mind. To talk health, happiness, and prosperity to every person I meet. To make all my friends feel that there is something worthwhile in them. To look at the sunny side of everything and make my optimism come true. To think only of the best, to work only for the best, and to expect only the best. To be just as enthusiastic about the success of others as I am about my own. To forget about the mistakes of the past and press on to the greatest achievements of the future. To wear a cheerful expression at all times and give a smile to every living creature I meet. To give so much time to improving myself that I have no time to criticize others. To be too large for worry, too noble for anger, too strong for fear, and too happy to admit the presence of trouble. To think well of myself and to proclaim this fact to the world, not in loud words, but in great deeds. To live in the faith that the whole world is on my side, so as long as I'm true to the best that's in me. Isn't that powerful? Then I would encourage you, who didn't get one? Who needs one? Can you pass that back to Brother Christian? I would encourage you, take that, put that on your mirror in your bedroom or somewhere where you can see that every day and allow it to begin to, take hold in your life and let it impact you. Now, the key to success, you got it, brother. There you go. The key to success in 2013, you better write this down, is relationships.
Yeah.
2013 is going to be based on the relationships you build. Now, here's the most important thing. Relationships that are the correct relationships. Now, I want to read a couple of things for you out of Paul G. Meyer's book here that he wrote. He said, I inherited a fortune. And he's talking about the good Christian principles that he learned as a young boy. Okay, and he wrote a couple of things in here that I thought was interesting. He talked about this. He said, there is one thing stronger than all the armies in the world, and that is an idea whose time has come. In 2013, Pastor Ron, the prosperity that God's going to release upon the earth for the believers, they're going to have to understand the window and recognize things where the time has come. There are certain things in 2013, there are certain businesses in 2013 whose time has come, which means this is the right time to get in there and do this thing because that's where the prosperity is at. Here's an interesting thing about business. It runs in cycles. It's not there all the time in one season. It shifts. Every wealthy person is able to look back and find these trends. Okay, and this is why he said, the greatest thing, the most powerful thing, even more than an army, is the ability to see something when its time is at hand. Okay, I thought that was interesting, and that's a key mark for chapter or for 2013. Here's also what he said. He said, when I review success that I've enjoyed in the past, I find the decisive role of work in each of the one is clear. I have always been willing to give what it takes to succeed. He was willing to do whatever it took to succeed. Now, here's what's interesting about life and human nature. Okay, and I'm going to get to the scriptures here, so just hang on. I'm going somewhere. Okay, here's what's interesting about life. You've got to be starving for success in order for it to show up at your door. Okay, yep. Because when you're starving for something, you will do anything to get a hold of it. The problem is most people are not starving. You've got to be starving for success in order for it to show up. I look back in 2012 and I said, I'm starving for success. I haven't had a big bowl of success for 27 months, man. I'm hungry. I'm going to do in 2013 whatever it takes. Okay, you've got to be starving. So when he talks about this, he said, when I look back over my years, now he was in his 70s when he wrote this. He said, I look back, 40 companies, mass hundreds of millions of dollars, and it all goes back to this. I was always willing to do and pay the price for whatever it took to be successful. You have to be hungry, Brother Wayne, in order for this stuff to begin to showing up. Here's what's interesting about human nature. When we talk about commitment, okay, that's an interesting thing, Pastor Ron, commitment. Because when you try to create commitment in people, or even in your own self, okay, it's a rare commodity that the church has failed to do. Okay? The reason why is because we're all based on human nature, which means this, and God knew this. Why do you think that he always put a promise to tithing and giving? Okay? The reason why is because of our DNA, the way that we're made up. Okay? Our brain structure, the way that it functions. Okay? When you go into the chemistry of the human body and the way our brain works and functions. Okay? It comes down, the only thing that motivates us is what's in it for us. Now, we can deny that. We can say that's not true. It doesn't apply to me. But it all comes down is we're all the same. When we find the pie big enough of what we want, automatically now nobody has to commit us. Nobody has to say, are you going to do this? Are you going to show up? Are you going to be there? Are you going to sacrifice? It doesn't. That is never in the equation. We become self-motivated. All of a sudden now, nobody says, are you going to wake up this morning and go to work? No, man, I'm already there 2 hours early. Why? Because the pie is big enough for something that we want. You're going to have to find in 2013 what motivates you. What's your passion? What is it that you really want? Because whatever it is, you're going to find that you're going to be committed to. Okay? So now working with individuals, if you want to get something out of them, find out what they want. In order to get them to play on your team and go the direction that you want, you got to find out what it is that they want. When you find out what they want, they'll kick in and say, I'll be committed to that. Now, when we used to do our success seminars, it was really interesting because nobody wants more CDs. Nobody wants more seminars. Nobody wants more movies, right? Nobody wants to read more books. But everybody wants their dreams. And if they believe that a book, a CD, a seminar, a boot camp will get them to their dream, they're going to go to the boot camp, they're going to read the books, they're going to watch the DVD, they're going to do whatever it takes to get them to what they want. Okay? So I used to tell all of our speakers, you want to sell more products, you want to sell more books, you want to sell more CDs, link it to the bridge of what your audience wants. They'll go out there and they'll buy everything off your table, man. If they believe that what you got is going to give them what they want. That's called human nature. Well, we reflect back and we look at this and we say, okay, 2013 comes in. What is it that we really want? How are we going to focus on that? How are we going to get that? Okay, we need people. And it all comes down now to relationships. That's why I said in 2013, it's going to come down to the relationships that we build. And now we got to learn how to build the right relationships. Okay? Success comes down to this. Dealing with the right people.